Five, four, three, two, one. Hello. Hello, and welcome back again to Space Engineers on the Xbox, on the Series X. And yeah, the last video I recorded, unfortunately, while it probably didn't appear on Twitch's broadcast, on the actual recording when I played it back, the sound was garbled in places and there seemed to be some artifacting in the voice. So rather than put up a rubbish video onto YouTube, I'm going to re-talk through this. Unfortunately, I can't show you the build from where I was, so I'm going to have to MacGuffin this the best I can and explain some things. So, where to start? To start with, what we did, or what I did, was I put two large reactors into the system, both linked to the large cargo container from last time, slapped three very, very nice large hydrogen thrusters on the back. I'm using the basic ones that come with the game, not the ones from the Heavy Industry DLC. I extended out our port by 3 and slapped a connector on it. And then what I'd done prior to that is I'd gone through and started to work out where I wanted to put my thrusters. So I'd linked in on there a bunch of conveyors and pipes to provide lateral thrust, but also to give me enough room to play with underneath. And underneath there are 7 either side, 14 thrusters providing enough thrust to keep the ship from crashing into the ground. I also made sure to use the ports on the side of the large thrusters. And here I've given myself about, at the moment, 8 thrusters worth of downforce on the ship to compensate, and then 6 thrusters on the front. And if you look, let me just very slowly show you how I pipe this in. I put conveyors in, equally spaced, about 2 blocks, starting from the back here, mirroring it on the side, but not using mirror mode. We've got is enough thrust. If you watch the last stream, you will know that this, if I remove that block, this ship will quite happily hover. So there it is. And bear in mind again, as I said before, I'm using closed systems. One to provide the actual fuel for the 2 large hydrogen tanks, and the other to provide any internal oxygen. So we have our thrust, and I've extended these above the whole thing because the plan is to seal these rooms. Originally I was going to have this as 3 parts. The second part was me building all this out, which I have done. I've also placed a gyroscope and batteries here to provide power storage. The internals here at the back. Cargo container. All of the fuel for this ship can actually come from this port here. If you put ice and uranium, it will get dragged into the system regardless, without the need for any kind of conveyor system whatsoever. My suggestion is if you're going to have cargo, I've noticed here I've got a couple of spaces that was left intentionally so that if I needed to put cargo space, I can put cargo space and actually have some cargo boxes. I could have cargo boxes either side, which is something I'm tempted to do, so that you've got some cargo on the ship specifically just for, you know, shuttling it around. If you hear crashes and bangs, by the way, I do have a new kitten. This kitten is enjoying doing kitten things. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to go overboard. You don't want to go absolutely bonkers with your cargo containers. We could actually put cargo containers here. Thinking about it, which will feed through the whole system into the big container as well. Bear in mind that nothing will get pulled onto the ship if we decide that we want to make this a mobile base. We could potentially put, let's have a look, we're going to want, I mean, if you're going to have a refinery on board something like this, then you could have a refinery on board with a couple of assemblers. Notice that it's about the right height. Easily put it on there, and any ore that gets pulled into that box at the back would then get pulled into the system again by the refinery. It's entirely up. We'll think and cross that bridge when we come to it. This was really more about piping hydrogen. So what I've done, as you can see, is I've used the ports on the back of the reactors because hydrogen will flow through, and I've also used the port on the back there. You see that the ports on these large hydrogen thrusters, you have 4 ports to play with around the thruster and 1 at the back. So it's a total of 5 ports when you're piping those in, but the other ones only have 1 port on them. To you how you do things. So basically, there's your hydrogen thrust. What you can do is, if you're happy with the number of thrusters and you think you've got the correct amount, jump into your cockpit and do a couple of things. 1, go to your info tab and change the name of your ship. Now, you can call it whatever you want. I'm just going to call this the Trevelyan. I wrote a science fiction story a long while ago, and that was one of the ship names in it, so the Trevelyan. And then if we go to panel, should have all of our hydrogen thrusters. I like to select them. Oops. RB and A style, and then just push down on the D-pad. That way I make sure I don't select everything. Make sure I've only got those thrusters selected. And you'll notice there's something wrong. I'm not seeing the thrust override, which means there's something in this that's actually not correctly selected. So I always like to jump back out, go back into the control panel, and this time make sure you come down and press A on the first thruster, then hold the right bumper down, then hold down A, and then just scroll the lot. I know you can band select, but as I said, I would rather do it one by one in case there's other thrusters in the mix. Now, rather than using the D-pad, use the left stick and push it twice to the right. Then you're on block group, and we're going to call this the first 4 letters of the ship name in capital, followed by the word thrusters, and save it off. And we're going to pop those briefly on the D-pad. We'll put them in the up position. We look under groups. We toggle block on off. And then we shut them down. And you're no longer burning fuel while you're building your ship. Because if you're building this in survival, the last thing you want to be doing is burning any kind of fuel while you're making a ship. Look around, see all the thrusters are off. I'm just pausing to show you the piping again. Rather than going straight across, I've gone up and round. I could have gone down and round if I wanted to, but I wouldn't then be able to use that one and that one for our thrusters. So I could as well have put more conveyor blocks or pipes to bring these thrusters in line with the ones here. So when I'm building the ship out, I'm going to have to make sure that I leave a gap underneath, or rather I leave a suitable thing. I don't put anything under that's going to get caught by that thruster. So looking now at all the thrust is in the right place. We've got lateral, we've got up thrust, down thrust, forward and backward thrust. Said the more weight you add on this, the more thrusters you're going to need to compensate for that weight. So you might find that you're going to have to crack these pipes here, maybe pipes there would be a good suggestion. Drop some conveyor junctions in and slap another 4 thrusters either side to compensate for the weight. And that's really the flight systems. You've got an antenna on the front. We've got a gyroscope here. And we could also add a grab generator. I think where the grab generator is now. Been a while since I've used one. But there's a lot of things you can. And let's see. Your info. Show this on HUD. Gravity generators are fun to play with. There we go. There's our grav field. And as you can see, it's a hell of a field we've got going on there. That's probably a bit too much. So looking at that, let's just drop it down here. See what we've got now. Let's try. We've got 76. Let's try 45. Bear in mind that you can press A, then A again. Type the number that you need in and press X to set it. Saves you trying to fiddle with the thing. So 45. Not going to reach on that. You can also change the way the slider works by holding down the bumper. And you see, as I change the field depth, power required also changes. Something you can fiddle around with. So your depth is probably needing to be higher. We're probably looking maybe 60 on that. I want it to just be sort of level. Probably 65 will do it on the depth. And of course, you won't see the reading of the artificial gravity until you're in space, because the grav generator doesn't really kick in until you're in space. So you can see there's a gap there. So the depth is probably actually, we can set that back to 75. Thinking about it, and that's probably gonna give us enough Cover the front of the ship. Yeah, that'll do. 75. Trial and error. But that should give us a nice walkthrough. Height-wise, well, we could probably come down. A bit more. We'll try, say, 25 maybe? 30 to begin with. There's your 30. Just above the thrusters there. And what? She's not too bad, actually. Considering we might want a bit of gravity on the hull. Go outside. And we want to look at maybe bringing the field width down to about 30 as well. Yeah. I'm fairly happy with that. Take that off. And that off. And the gravity range off. And so we've got gravity, we've got gyroscope, and we've got thrusters that we need. We have beginnings of the interior. If we wanted to, we could slap another conveyor block there. Or we could just literally put a block in the way on that one. So we have really the skeleton of the ship is done. As I said before, this is a re-recording of the last video because, well, the audio quality on it was really weird and there was some artifacting actually on the video itself as well as in the audio, so something was going on with Twitch this morning that prompted me to basically take a little bit more time out of my day just for you. I had to create the video again so I could do it. Because there we go. But there's your design. You can see it's just a case of working out where you want your thrusters and then piping them through. Hydrogen is not all that terrifying once you get used to it. So we've got a way to get ice and uranium on board. We can look at cargo storage once the thing is there. We can try and seal a room. And my advice is to, if you're looking to seal and oxygenate a room, then start small. Don't try and build something the size of the Death Star. And what we're looking at is we're looking at creating a ceiling. Now this pipe here, as you can see, is going to be a problem. Or it would be if we hadn't have given ourselves enough room to play with to do that. And that's why I wanted to do the height of the ship that high. So that basically, if I'm going to seal off a part of it, I'm going to build it up. Now, bear in mind, as I said before, from the last video, boxes inside boxes is how you want to think. So you're going to be building function first and the form later on. Seal that there. Where we see if there's any gaps. You'll see there's a gap there. So we're going to deal with gaps like this. Notice though that there is an easier way to deal with this gap. One of the best things to do would be to cut that pipe there and here. And then instead of using a pipe, we throw in our conveyor junctions, and we'll drop one there as well, just in case we decide that we want to do anything with that system later on. As I said before, you could throw a timer block in here. That one there. And there we have an oxygenated interior. You can, if you so desire, throw a button into the room so you can depressurize this area to save on oxygen being drawn out. But the cockpit is oxygenated, the interior is oxygenated. This will act as a two-stage airlock. And so will that. And so there is the sealed part of the ship. Boxes inside boxes. Aesthetics come after. You can stop that looking like a brick after you've made sure that it can fly. If you put the extra weight on with these blocks, one thing we can do is we can save. We can dive into the cockpit of this thing, turn our thrusters back on, see that those are now starting to show a little bit more power being drawn from the hydrogen. These thrust flames are a little longer because it's fighting against the added weight. Now, originally when I did the first video, we found out that untethered from the station, this, or the base, this particular ship pushed about 500,000 kilograms. But the quick save method is both shoulder bumpers and X. We're going to snap that there. And our ship doesn't crash in to the ground. It's got enough thrust to handle it. So we've got the gyroscope. We can turn. We might need to add a second gyroscope. because this is probably going to take a while to turn, but we can add more of those later on when we finish the build, or at least when we're getting close. The next part of this, of course, we'll be looking at what we want to do with the back part, because at the moment we need to seal that so that we've actually got a proper sealed ship. But that'll be for the next part of the video, with more of the continuing build of this Trevelyan ship. Until then, I will repeat what I said in the last one that failed. Stay safe, take care, have fun, enjoy the game. I will catch you definitely in the next one. Bye.